Hi, Joe Cerrone.
And Al Rosen.
Welcome to our Zoom classroom meeting for Basic AutoCAD, CAD 116. This week, we're going to cover Module 5, Chapter 5, Lab 5. Sometimes we have a number of different names for it, but we'll just call it Module 5. Module 3 is due today at 11:30 p.m. And then next week, Module 4 will be due. So as we look at our calendar, spring break actually kicks in next week. And so we'll have the meeting for the 14th and we'll be on spring break. Is that right, Al? Are we going to be on spring break next week? Do we have one more class and then break?
That's correct. It starts on the 15th, ends on the 22nd. We kick back up on the 22nd. That's on Monday. Monday to Monday.
Very good. So we will not have a meeting on the 21st.
That is correct.
At least not an official one. We could always jump in and help people out. Okay, so Chapter 5 is on layers, line types, drafting standards. We'll take a look at that. We have a video from our last semester when we went through Chapter 5. If I click on our YouTube, we kind of walk through the chapter itself. So if you'd like to go through that, we find that the videos are helpful. It really depends on how far into your research you want to go, because there's a lot of content here in the modules, the way we have them set up. We have the textbook, we have videos, and we have lab assignments. And so there's quite a bit of content, and it's up to you to decide what level you want to participate in that at. We want you to read the chapters and to get the objectives, but it's like a math book. You don't have to do all the math problems at the end of the chapter to be able to understand the outcomes for that chapter. So this is a good video. It goes through the chapter step by step, talks about the different line types. If you've not had a technical drawing course, it's important that you do understand the different line types and the standards for those things, like continuous lines, hidden lines, center lines, dimension lines, because these standards go back a long way, and the standards were set so that we can manufacture things. Okay, so that's the video. And then here's our assignments. We have two mechanical plate drawings, and they both have bolt patterns on them. The one on the left is a plate with a bolt on it, which you will use a linear array or a rectangular array. And the one on the right is another bolt pattern where you use a polar array. This one is a section view. So we'll use different line types and line weights, things like center lines, hatch patterns, dimension lines. And then we have a plot plan or a site plan. And this is really kind of an interesting drawing because it's different. It's not a mechanical, it's not per se an architectural drawing, but anybody with a house in the backyard can relate to putting in a pool and having a nice layout. And so that's kind of how this is set up. You know, maybe you want to put a pool in the backyard and put a deck out there for the kids, and you don't have to go to the public pool. I think it's a great idea. So this is a good way that you can go through and take a look at how this exercise works. And we'll give you a template file for that because there's quite a bit of work. And like we do with a lot of drawings, we'll take them from textbooks where we'll take this initial drawing and then we'll build on that from different chapters. And so you'll download that site plan drawing, and then there is a PDF that goes through the instructions to create that. Let's see if I can find a completed one. Here we go. And so as you look at it, we're going to go through and annotate and just fix that up a little bit. Pick only one drawing to turn in for this week. All other drawings will be continued as extra credit. Not a real difficult module. And so you can do this drawing, or this drawing. Here's our PowerPoint. We'll take a look at that briefly. Here's a video on how to do the mechanical plate with the rectangular array. Let's check it. And thanks to all the people that gives us a heads up when things don't work, because we don't see it the same way that you guys see it. And so we have like a little glitch patrol Al and I will go through, and we don't necessarily see it. Sometimes we think we fixed them. I thought I fixed one last week and it was still glitching. And it's oftentimes because we put dates into the starting release time for those videos, because we don't want to have everything turn on at once. But again, here's a video on how to create the plate drawing. You draw this rectangle, fillet the corners, mirror the corners. You'll need to use O-snaps. So everything kind of builds one on another. It's an older version of AutoCAD, but it still works the same. So there's no real reason for us to cut the video again. And then going back, here's the circular array, polar array. I'm using some of the AutoCAD content, but it still works the same. I've actually been doing this drawing since I worked at College of Lake County, which was in the 90s. This was a drawing done by Doug Beidel, who used to run the architectural program over there. And that was my CAD teaching job, to work at the Voc Center. It was great. I still have a lot of students that went through those programs and are out there working these days, and I still stay in contact with them. So a couple of videos. Here's the site plan PDF. Al, I got to tell you, you are the organizational king on this. So we put this together, and you can download the site plan drawing from Module 5. And then essentially you just draw it according to these standards here. And it's from a textbook, which started off by having you draw these plants. And this is an elevation drawing of the plants. And so this would be how tall they are. Putting in things like the sewer lines, the water lines, the gas lines, and then using the appropriate line types. And so you can choose different line types, like a gas line type. And you can then demonstrate that in the drawing. And so you can see here's this gas line that comes in and some of the trees. And you just build on it. This drawing takes a little while, but it's a fun drawing, and it has it looks good in the portfolio because it shows some diverse drawings, and every real estate transaction has to have a plot of survey. So you can certainly find a way to make some side income on this if you decide to get into some kind of part-time work like that. And so here's what the drawing looks like. And that's where that content is. Here's our glitch plan. I think that looks more like you every day, Al.
And you have part 1, 2, and part 3 up there. If you want to click on those.
Oh, excellent. And it's a YouTube video, so we can get the closed captioning on.
Yep.
There we go. Let's see if it knows my name. Hey, so far, close. It's using all the right words. Gonna. All my improper English got me in the machine shop, which I like. All right, excellent. And then the other videos,
Same way.
we pick up on that. Excellent. We like to compliment ourselves, right, Al?
Well, we try to help each other and also our students. So what we can do for helping our students, that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I think, you know, essentially sometimes we put a little too much content out there, but you guys can filter through that. We get the metrics. We can see that if there's a 20-minute video and people spend 5 minutes on it, they're doing this.
Which is fine.
That's how I watch. You know, some of the schools are going back to giving kids paper textbooks because they read them differently. You know, when you have a digital textbook like this, you go right through it just like that. With paper, you can't quite accomplish that the same way. Terrific. All right. So that's the site plan, and then the drawings for it does this every once in a while. It glitches to the wrong class, but I found it.
And there's also B-size paper and architectural B-size paper.
Right, because the units are set up differently. So when we open the B-size mechanical drawing, we'll have a drawing that's set up in units for decimal and essentially inches, the way this title block is set up. And then when we set up the other title block, this one is set up for feet and inches in imperial units. And so as we look at the units, we're working with architectural units, and that's in inches. And so the input and output will be in feet and inches.
Yeah, if you go up to where it says content, please, the meat and potatoes of it,
Sure thing.
please. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So this is going to give me a hard time. If you guys can't see it, they probably can't. I turned it on this morning and I did not see that this starts. So this is a glitch.
Look it up.
So I'm going to get rid of that. Let's check something really quick before I do. If I view this as a student without changing it and I go to 5, I can still see it.
Right.
But the students can't. The links won't work, right?
That is correct.
Yeah. And I know one of the students in the classroom right now is going, yeah, I saw that. And I'm a little slow at fixing things sometimes. It takes me 2 or 3 times till I learn it. But I think I got it. So we'll get rid of this start date. There we go. And now those should be visible.
Right. They're a light blue.
All right. And so I'm going to go back and check it one more time, and then we're going to go and we'll cover that material. So under content, and remember to always check the content tab because we can only put so much in the main splash page. And so these links, no, they're not working. So see how it's still there? Drives me nuts, Al.
Refresh it after you go into yourself. No, under yourself, please.
Yeah, it didn't take. So that was, I would have to check my recording, but I thought I fixed it. I could have sworn I went like this. And this is what happened last time. I fixed it. I didn't hit the update button is what happened, Al.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happened.
Now it should be okay.
Yes. That's the biggest problem I'm having with this remote learning is just technology glitches where you think everything is set and it's not.
I can't get into it, so I can't fix it. So
we have to fix that.
There you go.
Yeah, so everything works in here. Here's the site plan PDF. We put the Word documents in there, and they're mostly for Al and I because if we have to rewrite the curriculum, we don't have to get a PDF editor. And there's the instructions, and then there is the prototype drawing. You download it, and you can open it. Voila. Abracadabra. Mechanical lab. Okay, this is going to be the rectangular plate. And you're welcome to model these. Remember, if you do model this, the holes cannot be made polygon shaped. And so think a little bit about the design itself, because a lot of times people will press pull hexagon shaped geometry through the plate. And you can burn through it. I have a laser that'll cut those shapes really quickly and nicely, but most people will use a drill. And so most of the time you'll have a hole that would be at the center of that. So you can put a 1/4 inch diameter hole in the plate and then model the cap screw if you want. And here's 5B. Again, these are my College Lake County days. I used to work at the Volk Center over there. And these were just good drawings. We'd try to put everything on one title block. We would put all the notes to the students in red in this font. So there wasn't a lot of reading. There was more interpretation. It's a section view. So we have section lines. And when I made the arrows for this, I just made them with lines in a fill pattern because I could not insert an arrow. So yes, a lot of times you do that. And if you use it a lot, you'll just make a block out of it and then insert it as a block. But remember, it's a drafting class. And so we draw things. Here's the PowerPoint for today. If we briefly look at that, what we're looking at, we're looking at basic line conventions and how layers are used in different fields, and then how to manage those layers. Because with AutoCAD, layers are a big thing. And using Design Center is a way to manage that content. And so when we look at these drawings, we're looking at different standards like ASME Y14.2. And these are the things that you want to stick to when you get out there and you're working. Somebody says, well, why did you do it that way? Why did you do it this way? Well, I'm following a standard line convention that I was taught. And if you say, this is what I'm using, you can go out on the internet and you can find that standard and put it down there and say, well, this is what I was told to do. What is it you recommend? Always be open to it, but you don't want to just go in there saying, well, this is what looked good to me. Because a lot of times it's how things are. Phantom lines, center lines, section lines, break lines. Just understand the vocabulary, how to talk shop. Layers, being able to work with layers. Here's the standard layers in our mechanical title block. OBJ, PHA, HID. When I worked for CLC, the guys wanted all the layers to be 3 letters or less. It was just faster to type them in. And so set the color, the name, the line type, the line weight, and then you can put a description in there. But you can see that these have different line weights. And so as you go through and you work with these, certain things will kind of pop off the page because they're darker. And that's what they're supposed to do. Layers have so many things in there. There's really a ton of content in there. A lot of it you don't need. You typically just need the name, on or off, the color, the line type, and the line weight. It has things like transparency, whether they're printable layers or not, whether you see them in the viewports, whether you have the colors. This can make things very complicated. We're just going to keep them simple at this point. When you load a line type, you have to select load because it only puts in 2 or 3 of them. And then it has a whole bank of other line types. I don't know why they don't just load them all. Can't use up that much memory, but that's what we do. So here's how to activate a center line type. And then you have different scales for those. In other words, how much spacing and dashes. And it's sort of a trick too, because old school guys who used to supervise my drawings would be like, hey, that doesn't look like the correct center line type because there's not enough long dash, short dash, long dash, because they were measuring those with a ruler. And it's harder because the computer uses like percentages when it scales things. Design Center is a content manager. It's great. It allows you to go out there and get all this content and to be able to use that within your drawings. Everything from different blocks like door opening symbols. Here's a beam. And then here's these other types of lines that we'll work with. You should know this because we will have a midterm test that will test you on that. And so as we start to close in on our midterm, we will be giving a midterm that will be proctored, and you'll have a hands-on drawing, and you'll have test questions. The test questions will use something called Honor Lock. Won't take a long time to take the test, but essentially you'll take the test on a video camera. And we'll put that in the main announcements. But as you go through and you start preparing yourself for how do I get an A, you're going to need to know the information from the chapters and from the quizzes that we give in, because you'll see those questions are recycled. So that's the chapter 5 content. That's the labs. And I think that pretty much concludes our Zoom meeting. I'm going to go back to the main splash page and see if Al's got anything he'd like to add.
Everything fantastic, Joe, like always.
All right, Al. So I'm going to stop the recording and open things up for questions.